Anyone have a question? Rudy designed this meditation. I don't know if he designed it. It just came to him as a means of tapping so many different strata of energy, that enables one to truly work out their karma, connect with spirit, a consciousness of a higher nature, get wisdom, knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all dependent upon how deeply developed the chakra system is inside a human being. The only resistance, the only limitation is one's resistance to doing it. Setting some, idea of, well, I can only go so far. Well, higher creative energy and the wonderment of it is that it's infinite in the universe. There's no limitation to what a human being can tap inside themselves. And none of it's real. Look, all of this is nice words, but it becomes real when it becomes practical, that we can apply it to our lives, we can live with it, we begin to get a deep sense of inner peace inside ourselves. There's joy in our hearts. We're not sitting around judging everybody. We're not sitting around thinking all the time, but our hearts are open, and it all becomes a very practical way of living. Does anyone have a question? I'd like to.
Stuart, I have a question, Bob Sink.
This one?
Rudy was very gifted on so many levels. And there's a part of my brain that chimes in, well, I'm just a mere mortal. How it's, and there's a part of me that needs to get over it.
Well, I hung out with Rudy for almost 6 years. He told me the story of his life, not everything, but a good deal of it. What he went through, struggles he had, how he had to work on himself in order to tap those gifts. This was a person who was born literally, in the slums of Brooklyn. And, spent a lifetime working on himself every single day. I never walked into his gallery when he wasn't working on himself in one way or another, unless he happened to be with a client or something and, had to earn a living. But other than that, he was consistently and constantly working on himself. One of his maxims is work brings more work. Now, yes, he was a gifted person, but what you saw was the end product of 40 years of this man tapping energy, developing a chakra system, tapping creative energy inside. So what he went through with Swami Muktananda, nobody should have to go through. What he had to deal with in order to learn the things that he thought he could learn from Muktananda. Nobody should have to go through that. And I told you this, man. I once asked him, why do you do this, Rudy? I couldn't believe it when I saw this, what was going on. I said, why do you do this, Rudy? He's the only person I've ever met in my life who can break me down. His very presence forces me to go to God. Just to deal with him, I have to go to a higher level, in a higher plane of consciousness. How many people would respond to anybody in the world that way? So yes, most people that knew Rudy, they knew in the last 3, 4, 5 years of his life, 3 years of his life, and didn't get to spend a lot of time around him. I got to spend a lot of time around him. And it was a blessing because he drilled into me, work brings more work. He drilled into me, that I have to do the work inside myself in order to get to God, to break myself down. While he was alive, he used to break me down. When he took his samadhi, I used Denton, Texas to break me down. I used 4th Avenue in New York to break me down. I used this Zoom class to break me down. Because there's one thing I understand about myself, and Rudy understood about himself. We haven't arrived yet. God is infinite. The rest of us have to spend our life working on ourselves to get closer to that state of enlightenment, that connection with infinite energy in the universe. Yes, Rudy was gifted at the same time. I mean, it was amazing to spend time around him. Because he never took his gifts for granted. He never assumed that he arrived. I remember when Muktananda was giving that talk about the guru is God and the guru is God and the guru is God. It went on for an hour. And all I heard was the guru is God. Worship the guru and you will get enlightened. And Rudy is sitting behind me saying, the best the guru can be is the servant of God and the servant of his students. So he placed the servant at the highest point that a human being can reach on the planet Earth. What incredible humility. What incredible humility. Certainly affected me. When he told me that, boy, it was like etching it in stone and drilling it into my system. I couldn't believe when I heard that. I never forgot it. And for 6 years, I had Rudy breaking me down every day. And when he took his samadhi, I had to find other ways. In Texas, building ashrams, going to Europe, teaching in meditation centers all over the world. I would go to Europe. I do my tour 4 times a year. Paris and London and, Berlin and Zurich and Athens. And I did it for one reason. There were students and I went to teach because it broke me down. It forced me to surrender everything that I ever thought I was in order to serve a higher energy in the universe. These classes do the same thing for me. They did the same thing for Rudy. I mean, you're not going to become spiritually enlightened hiding out somewhere. You have to truly do the work of God in the world. And it's not like, 1,000 years ago where the Mahasiddhas and monasteries, and where life was sacred. Today, life is, God knows what life is today. Maybe only God does know what life is today, because I don't think anybody alive does what goes on in the world today. You've got to find ways that break you down, that test you, that make you grow, that make you a child of God, a servant of God, in a world that is exactly the reverse of it, everything that goes on today. I hope that's clear, because what I teach is what I learned from Rudy and what I've learned through doing this work, for many, many years, that have opened up channels of teaching that are totally remarkable. And when I was younger, I was a schmucky little kid. I really was. Rudy once told me I'll never take another student like you. He told me that. He said, well, Rudy, I made the cut. Thank God for that. But it took years of working on myself to learn what I was there to learn. It took, how many years after Rudy passed on, doing the kind of work that I was doing in the world that helped me learn what I had to learn. And I saw Rudy do the exact same thing in his own way. Certainly didn't do it in Rudy's way. I had to do it in the way God sent me the path to do it. But I believed from the day I met him 100% in this exercise. I never heard anything like it. And I've still never come across anything like it. That really gives you the ability to go deep, deep inside yourself and connect with what's infinite in the universe. Without any dogma, without any ritual, without all the bullshit that goes on in spiritual situations, diets, food trips, this, all that stuff. Does anyone have a question? Anyone else have a question? Anything? And you get back to it, Bob. We're all mere mortals. That's all we are. Some people have big images of themselves and huge egos. We're all just a bunch of people that are confronted with the unknown, having to make something out of a ludicrous world, having to find a way to God through the path of absurdity, which is the path of life today. How to transform all of that into a spiritual life. That's the test today.
Stuart, I have another question.
Yes.
Are you working, would you use that language, breaking us down, working with us? Are you working in that way, or is it different?
No, I hold these classes so that all of you would have an opportunity to do this. I certainly do it in every class. Sometimes I come here and there's a lot of resistance. I have 7 days a week. I have to 7 times a week. I got to stare into a computer for an hour and a half. And there's resistance, but I know by the time the class is open, something in me has changed. I have grown. And that brings me back to do it. And I'm hoping that it's helping every one of you learn how to do the same thing. So, I mean, I tell you, I make more classes than anybody else. I probably need them less than all of you, but I'm in more classes than all of you. Probably need it a lot less, but I know why I'm here, you know? Not to have a position. This is not a position. This is a way of serving God, of surrendering my position in life. And I'm hoping that everybody that comes is using it. And certainly what happens to you is not the same thing that happens to me. It's all different. We're all different. But we all have to find that energy source inside us that enables us to surrender in great depth. But people procrastinate. And I'm a little bit tired of that. I had somebody come last week. Oh, I hadn't seen this person in 5 years, 7 years. I need to study with you. I need to learn what you teach. I really miss what went on. I said, all right, I'll put your name down. I've never seen them. It's been like a week and a half now. I haven't seen them in a class. It's remarkable. Everybody lives believing they're going to live forever. And that time isn't precious. Their life isn't precious. Or maybe it's just me, my teaching isn't enough for more than I could put on my website, small groups of people over decades. Does anyone else have a question? Just so that you'll know, tomorrow there won't be a meditation. I have to have that every 2 months. I have this injection, and that's tomorrow. So there won't be a class tomorrow. There will be a class on Wednesday. Does anyone have a question they'd like? Well, I'll just say one further thing. Time is precious. Don't throw it away. Use it consciously. Use it to grow spiritually. We're allotted, each and every one of us is allotted a certain period of time to be here. And use it to have a spiritual life. And understand the wonderment of Rudy's work. It takes nothing away from anything else you do. It's just finding that hour to come, get energy, build your system, grow spiritually, become more connected with God, and to understand that time is precious. And most people waste so much time and, take it for granted. They live with this kind of black hole. That's the future. They think they're going to live forever, and they don't. So they got to use the gift of time to develop a spiritual life. And never take it for granted. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? Okay, well, God bless you all. And as I end every class, thank you for being here and for being part of this. And I'm just very grateful to be here and to do this with you. And as I said, it does break me down. It makes me surrender in great depth, and I need that in my life. So thank you and bless you all. There'll be a class Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. Take care.
You're
Good
welcome.
night.